Steph and Rachel, the creators of Wealth, Wisdom, and Wellbeing podcast. The spirit of this podcast is to share the conversations and curiosities that we have with a greater community in the hope that we can develop wealth, wisdom, and well-being for ourselves and those around us. We're in the pursuit of financial freedom and opportunity, meaningful relationships, experiences, and just an increased quality of life to be able to enjoy it all. We want to live our best lives and help you do the same. So come with us on this journey. Let's have some laughs, learn from our communities, and get that bread. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Rach?
Well, thank you. I'm very excited that we are finally doing this today. It's been a long time coming. Are you feeling some butterflies? Are you looking forward to it?
I'm excited and nervous all wrapped up into one, so I'm just embracing the excitement. How about you?
Yeah, me too. A bit of a butterfly. We're just really happy that we're actually doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we had a nice little test run, and now to just get into it and to show up. I mean, our first one was pretty awesome. And now, yeah, we added the little, finishing touches, and here we are.
Here we are. We are.
Yes, we are. Absolutely.
We are. So, Steph, let's share with the people a little bit about us. So, let's give them the backstory. What do you remember about how we met?
Well, how we met. Wow, it seems so long ago now. I think it's over 15 years, Rach. Wow.
When we were 5 years old.
Right. Yeah. So I remember being outside of John Ware, actually, and you were just walking by with our mutual friend Mandy, and she introduced us. That was our first meeting. And then from there, I remember seeing you in high school during basketball. And yeah, and we just had a ball. Like music shows, we had our emo scene. We were at like Carpenter's Union with like the sunglasses, just like rocking out. Yeah, good times.
Full time.
A totally simple time. It just seems like that is just so far from where we are now. Really cherish those times though. And yeah, what about you? What do you remember?
I remember basketball. Getting rides from your parents, games and practices, and just laughing. I remember we laughed a lot. We still laugh a lot because we're hilarious.
Clearly.
And we just don't take each other too seriously, hey, or ourselves.
No.
Never have, hopefully never will.
I hope so.
And then just our backgammon nights. Remember we used to drive out, could probably enroll or sign up for like backgammon competitions for the hours that we have put into backgammon.
Oh my goodness. At the tea house, we would sit there and play for hours and hours. Yeah. And did you have the first backgammon set or did I?
I did.
Excuse me. Yeah, you did.
It. Yeah.
And I asked for it. I think I got it as a graduation present, actually. But yes, I remember that. And you taught me how to play the game. Gosh, you've taught me a lot of things. You also taught me
so sweet.
Yeah, like I always remember about being in your kitchen, sitting right on your little table there in the kitchen, and you were teaching me about how to make the olive oil dressing. Like just a simple olive oil with balsamic vinegar. I always had everything out of a bottle, but yeah. So you've taught me a lot. So I'm excited to be on this journey together with you and learning that we've now, in our 30s, reconnected on we've just always grown together, Sure. So now we have this mutual interest for financial literacy, wealth, well-being, and just gaining wisdom as we go throughout this life.
Is that the case?
Oh, that was deep. That got deep there for a sec.
We went from backgammon to just like really major life decisions and like that.
Right. Yeah. That's how it's going to roll.
No, I love that. Thinking about where we've come from, 16, sitting in the tea house, trying not to get mad at each other for losing or winning at backgammon. and to today where we get to talk about a passion of ours and with whomever wants to listen.
Absolutely.
It's very cool. And I guess on this, journey of self-reflection and going down memory lane, if you could give yourself, Steph, a piece of advice for that 16-year-old, kind of looking back from all the wisdom and experience you have now, what would you say?
What would I say? Wow. There's so many things that I'd want to say, and I want to go back. I actually loved that example that I was talking with you about earlier, just around, I saw that post on Instagram, right? And it asked, what would you tell like your 20-year-old self or 16-year-old self? What's one piece of advice? And the funny thing is, and it's not just because we're doing this podcast, but it's because it's top of my mind, is I wish I would have known more about compound interest and just the investments in low cost index funds. I wish in my 20, like I knew by 20, because we know that compound interest in the time frame. So that's one big thing that comes to mind. But no, a couple other ones, just like have fun, don't take yourself too seriously would be a really, really important one. And before you have children, work on your inner child wounds, because that stuff is gonna like boom. So those would be my couple of pieces. But
Our trauma episode.
I think we might have to have it, like,
Oh
seriously.
no, it's so true.
Yeah, it's so true. But yeah, what about you, Rach? If you look back and if you could give yourself one piece of advice, what would you give yourself?
I feel like as silly as I was, and looking back, I did have some like lighthearted experiences. I was also very serious about some things. And I mean, with a grain of salt, because I think some of that seriousness or, I don't know, like inflexibility in my consistency did help me to, establish my job now. And I do like that part of myself because I feel like it's helped me with where I am today. But at the same time, I feel like you can't go back. And it was such a lighthearted time. And it's kind of that easy breezy. You don't have a lot of responsibilities. And I just don't think I felt that way. I feel like I was
Mhm.
always, I don't know, hustling is the right word. So I think I'd say just like relax a little bit, enjoy the moment. That's probably it. Enjoy the
Mm,
moment.
enjoy the
Doesn't
moment.
worry so much. Right.
Yeah.
So if
And
anyone
I
here in their 20s is listening to this, be present, enjoy the moment, and look up compound interest.
very important things. And yes, being in the moment, presence, huge.
It's hard.
Well, Rach, you know, it is. And let's tell everyone how we kind of came around to this podcast. How did we get here today? Like what inspired us to do this?
Feel like over the last couple years, you and I have been discussing more often money matters. This when we get together. And I think you're one of my only friends that I can really um talk about money with. And it's not like, Steph, how much do you make? But it's more like, what are you learning about? Like, what do you know about Bitcoin?
Right.
Your investments, like, what are you interested in? Even talking about kind of our long-term, short-term, long-term goals. And it's nice. It's just nice to have that dialogue. Other circumstances, it feels like it's a bit taboo, and I don't get why.
Mm,
Just don't
hmm.
understand why, especially with you run your own business. So financial matters matter to you. They're important if you're going to be successful. For me, I work in credit.
Right.
I mean, I look at financials all day, every day. It just
Yes.
feels really weird that that part of our lives would just stop. And then with our girlfriends or our other friendships or communities, it's like we just never discuss it.
Yeah.
I think part of this podcast together was really trying to connect like-minded people, explore these conversations, these discussions, and just really do what we like to do over a glass of wine, but in this platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
How about you? Tell me why you want to do this, or what led you to this moment.
Yeah, I think, you hit on so many of the points that we really hashed out together in our conversations. Like, why aren't we having these conversations with more of our girlfriends, more people in our social circles? We talk about parenting, we talk about, beauty or fitness or well-being tips and tricks. Like,
Like floors.
right. Yeah, exactly. Like after, before birth, getting yourself, all that stuff, right? Like the really in depth. So why is this still so taboo? And we were out, Rach. This is like where the idea sparked from, on a mom's night out with another one of our girlfriends. And, it was an awesome evening. These two women put together a great, like, opportunity for women to connect, moms to connect, to just bond over being a mom, being a woman. And I think in those moments we were like, why can't we do something like this? Like, there's so much beauty in bringing people together. And we had this want for empowerment, to empower women to live their best lives and to really take onus for their financial literacy. Like, they're learning in about money, because that's in piece about how you can go living your best life, you know? And yeah, so all that together just got us thinking, could we do like a podcast? How could we reach a greater audience with this? And in Canada, there's not a lot of options for podcasts that are talking about this. So I'm very excited to dive in and just simplify all these fancy terms, and come around to, yeah, the basics and have fun with it.
After that night, do you remember when we kind of started discussing this platform and what we would do were we given the opportunity to put this, into the ether? We created that survey and sent it to our
Yes.
like pool of females around us.
Yes.
The survey was really just very general questions about, like, one example was, if your partner were to pass, on a dark note, if they were to pass, would you know, like, what your financial situation was? Would you know where your investments were? Would you know what your worth was, your net worth, your liabilities? There were questions around, would you want to discuss finances and investments more often with your communities? Does investing scare you? Is it something you're comfortable with? What, from 1 to 10 being no idea how to spell investment, to 10 being, you run a hedge fund. Like, where are you feeling as far as your experience? And the results were surprising, because I feel like we're on kind of an extreme side of, well, maybe not extreme, but we're just further on the spectrum of maybe financial literacy and investments. Potentially our community is. They're good or bad, just what it is. 42%, and we surveyed 15 people, 15 women, ages,
Yeah, but 15 to 20.
25 to 45.
Even into the 60s, yeah.
Right, that's right. So 25 to 60, let's say. 42% wanted to have more conversations about finances. 1% were in the middle. Yeah, that's a good stat, right?
Yeah.
42% were not interested. They're like,
This
nah,
is
I'm
the
good.
one that I was like, what? So I loved seeing 42%. Yeah, right. So we're speaking to the 42% of you and the 21 that are kind of in the middle. No, you other 42%, you might come around. But why? That fascinated me. I'm like, 42% are not interested in discussing finances, investments, anything about it.
If someone's listening to this podcast and being like, oh shit, this is about investing, get me out of here, send us a note. Send us a note on why this is not interesting to you. no judgment, really just help us understand what is of interest to you. Or if you're not interested in discussing this, is it because someone else in your life handles it for you? Is it stressful? Like, we are dying to know.
Because I know when I first started my journey into learning about the finance world, even like basics of budgeting, this is all really in the last decade for me, and the investments in the last 5 years or so. So this is a big undertaking. And I know for myself, I was very overwhelmed. I was like, this is scary. What mistakes am I making? I want to have it right. And that caused a lot of analysis paralysis for me. So it took me like 2 years after getting the information to actually take that first step. Like, very common though. Very common. So within this, I wonder, is there like that tabooness of the talking about it, that people don't want to talk about it because it's personal or private? I wonder if people are just, fear of being judged or fear of what emotions it's going to bring up for them, because money for a lot of us is not always a fun topic to talk about. It can bring some heavy feelings. So we'll dive into that in our next episode around the psychology of money and our belief system around money. But yeah. And what was that other stat in that survey, Rach? Because there was another really good one.
This is the one where we were like, we need to do this. We need to talk about this, because 57% of our female tribe surveyed wished they had knowledge between 20 to 25 years of age in regards to finances and investments. Knowledge is obviously a broad term. The survey didn't call out exactly what that knowledge would be, but I think we can probably extrapolate that it's just a more general understanding of the investment world. And it could be as simple as knowing your income, knowing your expenses, understanding where, what your means really are. But 57%, which tells me that there's an opportunity here to hopefully reach out to some of the younger listeners, who truly, I imagine, are further ahead than we are potentially when we were 20 to 25. So
yeah.
Younger listeners, teach us. We're open to what you have to share, especially because it's a different time. Like, we were 20, almost 20 years ago, but a lot can change that time, especially with technology and what's available and just access to information.
And also just
was shocking.
Yeah, it was very shocking. And like with the change in times too, I just wanted to add on there, Rach, that also the way to get to those goals that you have, well, one, the goals likely are looking different. What were the goals 25 years ago or so for people? Like our parents, for example, get a stable job, ideally with a pension, stay there, work really hard at one company, invest in your RSPs, and then, retire at 65 or whatever. Like, that's kind of the general thing. And somewhere in there, you have kids and get married. That's not so much what our society and like our younger generations are valuing anymore. And also not really the approach many people are wanting to take. I know I'm not. Like we talked about, age is or retirement is a number. It's not an age. Yeah.
The idea of freedom 55, freedom 65, it should be freedom X dollars. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I agree with you.
You have this.
I don't think our parents, my parents certainly didn't look at retirement in that way. And they, to your point, had a very traditional outlook on how their life would progress and what success looked like. And there is nothing wrong with that. It is what it is. But I agree. I feel like today, especially for us, compared to our parents' generation, and from, the 20-year-olds that I get to share experiences with today, you look at success differently. They value, I think, experience more than maybe we had at that same age. So things are different. Things are just different. And they'll continue to change. Like, I'd be interested to know 20 years from now, are we going to be like 60 doing this podcast? Because that'd be kind of cool. It'd just be a different phase, like retirement with us.
Absolutely, right? We'd have a new perspective and wisdom in these areas that we can speak more from our experiences. And to go back, like, yes, that stat, just to wrap that part up, yes, 57% wish they had the knowledge in their 20s and early 20s. I too am a part of that stat. I wish I did know, because we just know time on our side is just so helpful. However, if you are in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, please continue to listen with us, because there will be nuggets that you may take away, and we'd love to hear your perspectives too. Try not to get discouraged. The best day to invest was 20 years ago. The best years ago. The next best time is today. So it's never too late. So I just wanted to put that in there.
Never too late.
Never too late. So, Rach, just to kind of go with a little bit on where we're going next with our next episodes here, do you want to just touch on a little bit around what are our first things first? What are we getting into next?
Okay. So, first things first, we are going to talk about our beliefs around money. So, our next episode will be about money mindsets. It's just looking at our awareness of money, finances, better understanding of how I should say our experiences have shaped our views on money and investing and what wealth means, understanding where we're coming from individually. It might be the case. And then moving around kind of cookie cutter success, building wealth and understanding that everyone is different. We have different priorities, 5, 10, 15-year goals, and that all of these things are okay. There isn't one right way. And just kind of unpacking that. Then once we kind of understand, okay, this is our framework for why we're looking at finances the way we do, we want to dive into financial literacy. So we want to kind of remove the guise, or I should say, remove the complexity around finances. There's a lot of terminology used in the financial world. Financial institutions, I think, create complexity around finances and investing because it's a moneymaker, right? If you're paying someone to handle your financial for you, that's fine if that's the road you want to take, but it comes at a cost. And
It does.
I think a lot of the time institutions complicate things to make you feel like you can't do it on your own and that you need them so that they can.
That's so true, Rach.
They can make their money their way.
And that's happening all the time. Just to jump in really quick, from our survey, it was fascinating. 78% of the women who responded are not using self-directed accounts. And I don't blame them, because there is a lot of terminology and complexity, as you're saying. It doesn't have to be that way. Spoiler alert. So yes, we're going to get you to look at some numbers on your accounts in the next coming episodes, just to see what's going on for you, so you have the awareness, so you know, and then you have the information, you decide what you do next.
So then we'll talk about potential investing options. A lot of it will be about Steph and my experience. We're not financial advisors. It's really just what we've done, what we have felt has been helpful, what we've learned from each other, and sharing that with whoever is listening. we want to encourage everyone to take action. Like Steph mentioned analysis paralysis, which is a term I really enjoy and can apply to anything. You want to get something done. You want to get your makeup, highlight, blush, whatever it is set on. You watch your 50 YouTube videos, try it 100 times and never walk out the door with it. Analysis paralysis.
Totally.
So once you have enough information or what you feel like is enough for you to make an educated decision about where you want to go with anything, wealth, wisdom, or well-being, then just take the first step. You can always change your direction. You're not set. It's not like, oh, if I decide this now, I'm stuck for the next 25 years. You're never stuck. You always have options.
Absolutely. Always have options, can pivot. And you will pivot, because at different stages in your life, you're going to have to pivot, just for the nature of your goals and where you want to go. And nothing is ever permanent. Yeah. It can be scary, but it's also a lot of fun and it's a lot of excitement around it. There's a lot of potential here. So, action.
Before we sign off for today, we've talked a lot about, or we've used the term quite a bit, wealth. And we close with what wealth means to us.
Yeah, I love that. Wealth means to me having the time and the freedom to go and do what I'd like to do in my day-to-day life. That's wealth, to have the option to spend my time with who I want to spend it with, when I want to spend it, and where. How about you, Rach? Sounds very similar to Morgan Housel's, but it really resonates with me, his quote there.
I agree. I feel the same. Wealth is, to me, just having options. Options to leave a job I don't particularly like, to spend time with my family, to leave a relationship that's not positive or fulfilling. Really having the choice to be independent. That's wealth for me. Reality.
Very empowering.
As women.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very important for women to have choice. I mean, in all aspects of their life, not to get too political here. Just that freedom to choose who you want to spend your time with, how you want to spend that time, and when you want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Well, I'm excited in our next episode to dive more into like the psychology of money. We'll talk more about Morgan Housel and his book, Psychology of Money, and just how that relationship, it's super complex between money and human behavior. So that's going to give us some really good insight into where we're at, our own beliefs and values, and empower you guys hopefully to look at yours. And yes, we're so excited to embark on this journey with you guys. This has been such a long time coming over the past year, dreaming, and it's here, Rach. So we just hope that we inspire you to just take action and really go ahead with your learning in this area. We know it's bringing a lot of joy to us, and so great to be able to do this with you, Rach.
To be able to have these combos with your bestie. Love it.
It's the best.
Listeners, if you have a bestie you want to start talking about this with, or maybe it's the guy at the coffee shop that gives you your latte every morning that you have 10 minutes to just shoot the shit.
Yeah.
Ask him what he's investing in.
Yeah, absolutely. Just go right in, dive right into it. Hey,
this is interesting to me. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Just open the door, open the conversations. Love it. All right. Well, we will see you in episode 2. Any comments you have for us, drop them in there and we will get back to you. Bye. This podcast is designed to provide listeners and viewers with a general overview of how to start investing and growing wealth provide value to our communities, and live a life of wellness. It is not designed to be a definitive investment guide or life guide to take the place of a qualified financial planner or other professionals. Given the risk involved in investing of almost any kind, there is no guarantee that the investment method suggested in your personal or financial life will be profitable. We do not assume liability of any kind for any losses that may be sustained as a result of applying the methods suggested in this podcast, and any such liability is hereby expressly disclaimed.